Hey, everybody, welcome once again to Nerds with Alcohol. I'm Russ.
And I'm Chris.
And this is episode 229, back in our virtual nerd basements. Guys, welcome once again.
229.
229. Beautiful day here in
Hot as fuck.
hot as fuck, yes.
It was not a beautiful day. It was a hot as fuck day.
Was very hot. It was the hottest day of the week, not of the year apparently, but the hottest day of the week so far.
Windy as hell too. Actually, that's what
it was really windy. It was real muggy.
It felt like it wanted to rain, and it looks like it. Like looking out my window right now, I can see dark clouds and stuff.
We're supposed to get a lot of rain tomorrow.
Yeah,
from what I'm saying, and thankfully it's supposed to cool back down. Apparently, it's almost 90 degrees today, like 88 degrees today. They're calling for like 55 as a high on Friday.
I know.
Like, what the actual fuck, man?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 67 on Thursday when I go golfing, which is absolutely perfect. What's up, CD? Yeah, it was super humid. That was the thing too. That's really what did. I mean, the wind helped with that, but it was still hot as hell out there. It was summer hot out there, and I still say I want my spring. Damn it.
Yeah. No, for real, man. It's been weird because we kind of jumped through spring, and that's really kind of ticking me off, you know.
We're getting little snippets like this weekend. We're gonna get, as you said, a snippet of spring.
A snippet of spring. Supposed to go back to like kind of semi-normal end of May, kind of mid 70s, low 70s kind of stuff. And it's like I'm just.
Luckily, it's supposed to be nice down south where I'm down to Tennessee. Supposed to only be in like the low to mid 80s.
You're going just to meet the grandbebe?
Yep, that's the main reason, and it's also a trip for Renee and I. So
right, of course.
I was talking with my daughter today, and I said, I've been talking about saying I'm going down. Oh, why? I said, I'm going down to meet my my granddaughter for the first time, and blah blah blah. Oh, and I'll see my daughter too. And she says, "Oh, thanks, Dad." And I'm like, well, you realize you don't matter anymore, right?
Oh, jeez. Christ, dude.
I was kidding. I told her I was kidding.
I know you. I'm sure. It's just one of those things. You're like,
and she knows I'm kidding. But it's the case with a lot of people. As soon as the grandbaby comes along, that's the only thing in the grandparents' mind that is the grandbaby.
Right, of course.
In my case, that's not.
Well, here's hoping.
Well, I mean, it's not. I am not one that is. I mean, yes, I am ecstatic that my daughter has this child because it's.
Of course,
it's her child.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's yours. You're right, CD. I get the baby benefits without having to keep them. It's the oh, she's so cute and so lovable and needs to change. There you go, Mom.
It's your turn to change. That's the beauty of being a grandparent or uncle or whatever.
Yep. You can be the cool one too.
Yeah. I was like, I have a nephew now, and I'm happy for that. And when he gets a couple years older and is potty trained, then we can hang out. I was like,
I have 4 nephews and 2 nieces. So between the 2 families.
Right. How was your weekend?
It was all right. Or Auntie, yes, Auntie Dunn. It was the weekend was all right. We had our game on Friday, which was a blast.
Hi, Auntie.
Which I realized,
yes, was fun.
Yes,
we did also hit 7th level.
Yes, you guys hit 7th level. So you got a little bit more power. I know several people are already looking at level 8 and have been for what they want to do.
Yeah, well, that's level 8 is definitely a it's one of the milestones. Mm-hmm. You get a feat or it can improve your stats, there's a lot of it's like I said, it's a milestone. It's one of the 4 or 5, 4, 20, or excuse me, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. It's one of those ones. So it's kind of a bigger deal. But 7, I mean, 7, I don't think too many of us tend to got a whole lot. I
The
know
spellcasters got 4th level spell.
they got 4th level spells. Okay. I did not, as a paladin, do not have access to 3rd level or any more spells, unfortunately. And then what I did get is it activated another aura for me. So now I have 2 auras.
Yeah.
And I think it's immune to frightened or something like that. I can't remember. And of course the requisite couple extra hit points or whatever. But it was just it's exciting. It's always exciting for me when we go up another level because I'm like, yes, another level, more stuff, more challenges, more hit points, all that other stuff. So
Yep. So, but yeah, that was it. Then had my game on Saturday, which was my other game on Saturday, which was a lot of fun. But at that point, I'm so tired from our game on Friday, and then doing it again on Saturday that I feel like I'm doing them somewhat of a disservice because I really was tired that day. I can't seem to get enough sleep. I don't know.
Me neither. I was dead on my feet all day. I took an allergy pill this morning just to be on the safe side, and I was fucking exhausted all day.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is that it's my allergies that I'm not sleeping well.
I think part of it was the allergies, one, and then two, I also the humidity was just sapping my energy out of the heat and humidity in our building, just sapping it out of me, and I'm just like, but I do feel like probably I either need to get more sleep or better sleep. I think I got like 6.5 hours last night, which 6 hours for me is what I need to kind of function well. I can function on less, but to function well, I need at least 6 hours. And I just was like I said, I just felt all kind of fucking day. So kind of like I'm tired, but I'm also hungry, and I'm also I don't know what I want. It's just all kinds of confusion, man. But yeah, the game was great.
Yeah. Nice. But other than that, it's just been work. I actually have to do a change after our show tonight.
You have to do a change?
Yeah, I have to work after our show.
Dragish. Do you get to like go into work late tomorrow then?
No, I'll be in on time.
Oh, jeez. Well,
I'm hoping I can get out a little early on Friday so we can take off for our.
Okay. Stella and I, Stella had a writers conference all weekend. That normally, if this wasn't the time of COVID, she would have been at the Bear River, Bear Lake or Bear River something writers conference. Is at like a small resort, like in northern Michigan or so a distance away. And but because we are in the time of COVID, they put everything online. So she did it online, and it was pretty cool. She had a great time and learned a lot. And I think it's associated with her master's study and whatnot. So that's kind of cool. So she was really busy with that all weekend. I had a weird thing. I had a wedding and a funeral in the same day.
Oh, wow.
On Sunday. Yeah. Talk about a roller coaster. Yeah. I remember, if I don't remember if, well, I would imagine that you would remember several months ago, a friend of mine killed herself, Eladani Drakena. She was known as Eladani Drakena in like the art and performance circles in the area. Danny Soames, or Danielle Soames was her real name. She, although Eladani is really what she answered to. She decided to take herself out of the equation, and it's very tragic. She was very young, and she seemed to have a lot going for her, but depression is a motherfucker. And nobody really kind of knew. I think she had struggled with depression for most of her life, and had worked with it, tried to work, but apparently just, she lost the war. So which is really a shame. So they had a memorial for her finally over on Sunday. And it was really weird because I walked up and I didn't know Danny and Ragnar. I haven't known them very long. I mean, I kind of knew them. They were peripherally at Ren Fair. They were a couple that I was like, oh, yeah, I remember those two. I've seen them at fair and whatnot. And then back in 19, when I started doing my ogre character, we interacted a few times. It was fun. I got to know them a little bit, and she and I, but the whole rigmarole, the Facebook friending and whatever else. And we had talked about doing some collaboration too at some point, like doing maybe a couple's body paint and a photo shoot with her and her boyfriend at the time, Ragnar. And but then then like a couple of weeks later, she decided to take her own life. So it was real sad. But her the memorial was really very cool. It was out on Lake St. Clair and right on the shore, and they'd set up a big tent or no, they had rented a pavilion like right there, and her family, she big turnout with her family, and then I recognized various other people. I was like, oh, there's that guy, a couple other people, very people I knew from around, and it was Ragnar at one point commented about how it's just kind of wild to see so many of his worlds coming together at that point, her family and some of his family and the performance world and the pagan, because they were very much into the pagan lifestyle and in the pagan community. So yeah, it was just kind of wild, and about how those things get together. So that happened on Sunday afternoon, and we sent her off, and it was touching. And then later on that evening, my sister got married. They had eloped to Las Vegas. So I wasn't there, but I got to watch it on they went to a chapel, basically a wedding place in Las Vegas, and they broadcast it on the internet and for us to see, and it was really cool. It was well filmed. They obviously had a couple of professional photographers that shoot them. My father flew out and as a surprise to give my sister away.
Huh.
So that was really cool. So I'm like, Estelle and I are watching it, and she goes, "Isn't that your dad?" And I go, "No, my dad's not there. He's, he didn't." And I went, "Oh shit, it is my dad." And I'm texting with my mom. I'm like, "I had no idea. I had no idea Dad was there." And she goes, "That was a surprise." And so that was cool. So my sister and I have a new brother-in-law, Jason. He's one of those weird guys with a first name or a last name for a first name. It's Jason Gregory. So his last name is Gregory.
Yeah,
so,
those weird guys.
Those weird guys, yeah. I'm glad you picked up on that.
I almost just let it go.
Yeah. His last name is Thomas, everybody. So anyway, that was kind of cool. Here. Nothing like right there. So that's right there.
I had to figure out where it was because it's backwards when I go to do it.
Yeah, you're right around the right place. So anyway, it was nice, Mr. Three First Names. It was kind of an emotional roller coaster that day. So. But other than that, just kind of getting ready to get into that full steam ahead kind of stuff. We've got projects moving forward at work, so we're all kind of getting to it. I'm still going to be doing busy work and kind of I've got a couple of things to keep me occupied until I actually get new stuff to do. But it's coming. We had one of our sculptors finally came in today to start work on some stuff for the new extension to the S3 float. And then Shadow and Ross were tearing apart things, and so yeah, it's getting there. We all had to get licensed to use the high-low and stuff, so that happened. But yeah, because of OSHA and their regulations, they were like everybody's got to be, because a lot of times we were just like, hey, jump on the high-low and do what you got to do, and so now we have to be all licensed and stuff, which is wise and smart. So, but yeah, got Memorial Day. We're off Friday and Monday, and then so we'll do a 4-day week next week, and then after that we'll be in a full Monday through Friday kind of thing. So back to the grind, to the old bump and grind, and maybe grinding. I don't know. What are you drinking?
I am actually drinking a beer that Pete brought over when he came over to paint his fig for Tavern Nights a week and a half ago.
Speaking of, I designed one for Merrick Harris. I just gotta I gotta pay for it and download because I'm not paying $30 for them to print it out.
No, dude, just pay for the STL and send it. Get it to me. I'll bring over a thumb drive or something. I can print it up. I can print up multiple copies.
Yeah.
So this is a beer from North Peak Brewing Company. They're in Dexter and Traverse City, Michigan. Brewed up north. It's called Tropical Diabolical Fruit IPA, and it's there we go.
Cool.
Diabolical is one of their main like IPAs. This is an India Pale Ale brewed with passion fruit, guava, pineapple, sweet orange peel, and tangerine puree. It is very clear. Very clear.
Mm-hmm.
It smells like fruit. Is what it smells. Take another. And yes, you're right, CD. That the label does remind me of Slits. It is very fruity. It is. There's all sorts of fruit. It's all that fruit that they're talking about mingled together. And it's not bad. But it's not what. And then there's a little bit of bitterness at the end. It's not one of my favorites. It's not bad though. If you like fruity beers, and IPAs, it's pretty good. It's very reminiscent of a New England style IPA because it's extremely juicy, with just a hint of bitterness at the end. Even though it's not labeled as a New England style, I would put it in that same flavor profile. So if you like New England, I think you'd like this. It is, like I said, it is pretty good. It is. And this is one of the things. So Diabolical, which is their main IPA, one of the reasons that they call it Diabolical is because it's 6.66% ABV, as well as 66.6 IBUs.
Oh, for crying out loud! Jesus.
So that's what they're saying. This one is. So it's Diabolical. But yeah, I would say this is probably for me. For what it is. It's probably a 3.5 or so. What I would give it.
Okay.
If you like the New England IPAs, it's definitely up there. This isn't one that I would drink a lot of, personally. I can have one and then I'd move. It's just a little too sweet, a little too fruity for what I would IPA. But I mean, as a fruit beer, it's not bad.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, last week I bought a 4-pack from St. Ambrose Cellars, and so this is my second one out of that 4-pack. The previous one was their fuck balls. It was
their fuck balls?
Yeah, it was their fuck balls. No, it was their cinnamon apple kind of mead, and it was a play on boxing or something. It was shit, it'll come to me eventually. But
yeah, I don't remember.
So, but this week I am doing it's also a draft style mead. This is their Black Madonna. That's the label right there. Let's back it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Black Madonna. It's backwards on my screen. It is their sour blackberry mead. Now, I'm reminded a little bit of the mead that from 2 weeks ago that your lovely wife brought me, the blackberry mint, which was really, really good. This is blackberry, just sour blackberry. It's excellent. It's excellent. It's another sweet, because, this is also very good too, but blackberry mint at Bean Hector is fantastic. Yeah. I think you have to get it at the tap room.
At least at the moment, yeah.
Yeah. So
we'll talk about that one more later when we get to another Sample of it.
Yeah. It says, deep in the magical halls of St. Ambrose cellars, our mazers tend to the divine sour culture that is used to produce this mystical sour draft mead with blackberry flavor and sweet honey. Try this unique mead. You won't regret it. International Mazer Cup Gold medalist. Save bees, drink mead. 6% alcohol by volume, so a little bit higher. It's really, really very good. And it says sour, but it's actually pretty sweet. It's got a very sweet taste to it. And it's got an interesting aftertaste, a little bit different, but I'm really, really liking it though. This is pretty good. I think the blackberry really pairs well with the honey and everything. So blackberry meads these days, guys, they're hot. No, but this stuff pretty good. I mean, St. Ambrose does a pretty solid product. They're nice. I'd say they don't quite have the scope that Bee Nectar has, but the couple of things that I've had from them so far are pretty solid. I know I'm pretty sure there's one or at least one of these flavors in this 4-pack I'm not going to be super happy about. So, but it's just not my thing. It's like a Chipotle one or something. And
those can be good if they're done right, but if they're overpowering, then they...
Correct. So, but this one's pretty good. So, So
getting tiki with it. Nitro Pina Colada wheat from Left Hand.
Jesus.
Okay.
That sounds like a lot. Black Madonna sour blackberry mead from Draft Style or from St. Ambrose Cellars, and you were again.
I was Tropical Diabolical Fruit IPA from.
All right. Tropical Diabolical. Kind of dig it. So moving right along. What's first on the agenda?
Well, what do you want to get into first?
Well, why don't we do the big news so far, the big news. Yesterday, Marvel finally released a true teaser trailer to The Eternals. It's the 2-minute teaser trailer. We had seen very kind of like short, quick images from a previous thing that kind of spotlit all the Marvel movies coming out this year and into next year.
Like some of the past ones.
Yeah, and the shows coming up and stuff too, which we have 2 weeks to Loki?
June. Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks. June 9th.
Yeah. Well, the 31st is Monday.
Yeah, June 9th. 2 weeks from tomorrow.
So okay, yeah. Because yes, it is coming out on Wednesday and not Friday. So anyway, we saw little snippets, but they did finally actually release a full trailer. So, and it was looks very promising from what I can tell. The director is the same director who just won like all kinds of acclaim for Nomadland, which just had a lot of attention at the Oscars and the Golden Globes. So it should be interesting to see her take on a Marvel property. We saw images of Angelina Jolie as Thena. We saw Salma Hayek looking amazing as Ajak. I do find it interesting that the two eldest, Jon Snow and the eldest Stark boy are both in this movie. I think that's kind of cool.
Jon and Rob.
Yes, Jon Snow and Rob are both.
Rob's Icarus.
Pardon?
He's Icarus.
Yes, he's or Icarus. It depends on who you're saying. But yeah, no. What was their family name? Not Targaryen.
Stark.
Stark. Right. I don't know where my fucking brain is today. Still at work, probably in the sweat. I sweated it all out. Yeah. So I think that's kind of cool. the guy Rob Stark there, he's playing. I'm just going to pull up the cast list. He's playing Dane Whitman, who is also known as the Black Knight in the Marvel Comics, a superhero known as Black Knight. And we didn't see a whole lot of him in the trailer. They kind of really, kind of centered mostly on the Eternals, and it shows
Well, it's
that they
because
are
he's going to be a side character in this, but
right.
they're introducing him
Mhm.
to bring in the Black Knight
In future
in
kind of things.
future properties.
Right. It's good. It's kind of like how they introduced the Black Panther in Civil War. You know, he wasn't a major. Well, he was kind of a major part. I mean, his father died, and that that. But when Bucky was, when the Winter Soldier killed his father, was kind of a big deal. But even so, he was still a secondary character in the story, and so I think yes, I think this is how they're going to introduce Dane Whitman as the Black Knight into other stuff. I really hope we do get to see him using or getting the ebony blade at some point, though, instead of
I have a
I
feeling
don't
we
want him to
might.
just be some like guy with the shocked look on his face the whole time, and then
I
all of a
think we
sudden
may see that in the post credit scene.
I see that. I really hope that that's not the case. I think you're right, but I really hope that that's not the case. So the Eternals, we do find out too that they are basically a group of superhumans that have been living on
Aliens.
Earth. Well, aliens, yes, aliens. I mean, in all actuality, in the comics, they are a group of genetically engineered or genetically an offshoot of humanity that was genetically manipulated by the um,
Celestials.
Celestials. Thank you.
They created three
And
races. They
right,
created the deviants, the humans, and the
Eternals, correct. And now, and they've been on Earth, kind of helping us, shepherding us, but never interfering. And I mean, I'd like to know, like, okay, what exactly does that mean if you've been helping but not really interfering? It's I don't know. And then what is it finally that it says finally like we have always stayed away
yeah.
until now? Well, what is it that suddenly that's worse than Thanos?
Yeah.
You know, that's worse than the Red Skull in during the war. That's I mean the Nazi regime, and
Yeah.
what was worse than I mean that this is worse than Loki bringing an invading force from out from far flung outer
The
space and
Chitari. Yeah.
invading the Chitauri invading New York City. I mean Ultron. I mean all of these things that has
Mhm.
happened up to now.
I want to see that explanation.
Exactly. Now in the comics, Thanos is actually a eternal, and because the Eternals, they have natural superhuman abilities, and some of them are sometimes born with physical mutations as well. And in fact, I think he might have even been what was considered like a deviant Eternal. But I can't remember for certain on that. At the very least, though, he is an Eternal from Titan, the moon of the moon of I think Jupiter, and
Saturn.
Saturn. Okay, and but in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Eternal, or at least Thanos, was been established that he as maybe an alien. I'm not sure, so I don't know exactly how. It should be interesting to see how they kind of tie in the Eternals, what they are exactly, if they are just like immortal aliens living on Earth, if they are an offshoot of humanity, how they were created, what happened. So I did see they did show how it's Kit Harington playing Dane Whitman, that's right. How Kumail Nanjiani, he plays Kingo, and in the comics, Kingo is like a Japanese, he plays like he integrated himself into society by becoming an action movie star, like a kung fu movie star. And in the movie here, they're making Kingo, instead of making him Far East Asian, he is Pakistani, or he looks at least Pakistani, and he is a Bollywood
Yeah.
actor.
Pakistani or Indian.
Yeah, or Indian. He's like a he in this he's a Pakistan, like I said, a a Bollywood star. So that's really
Yeah, it
fucking
looks
cool.
like there's
That's an
gonna be a
interesting
Bollywood
switch.
number in it.
Right. And Kumail Nanjiani like went crazy getting himself into shape. Like, and he's still doing it. Like he even jokes. He goes, "Well, I'm 20% less funny, but I'm in much better shape now." Because I mean, they stopped. I mean, they filmed this movie well over a year. They finished filming it like almost 2 years ago now, and the dude is still jacked like he would be. In fact, he's even bigger now than he was when he was in the film. So that's kind of wild. Um, but and also like, how are they going to? I mean, we're hoping that we're going to see multiple movies with these characters, right? Well, one of the characters, Leah McHugh, she plays Sprite, and if she is an immortal, how are they going to work that? You know, I mean, she's a kid. She's going to grow. She's going to get older. I think we might not see some of these characters again, but I am really, really excited.
Yeah,
Angelina Jolie
I
as Thena, Salma Hayek as Ajak, Gemma Chan as Cersei. Gemma Chan also played Dr. Minerva in Captain Marvel as well. Richard Madden as Icarus. Kit Harington as Dane Whitman. Kumail Nanjiani as Kingo. Brian Tyree Henry as Phaestos. Barry Keoghan as Druig. Lauren Ridolph as Makari. Ma Dong-seok as Gilgamesh. Leah McHugh as Sprite, and then there's some various other like actors here that are kind of just listed. These were the top cast. Now, it is interesting that they've done both racial and gender swaps on some of these characters. So, I mean, most of the characters of the Eternals were depicted in the comics to be pretty much Caucasian. They were characters that were all created to be godlike characters in the 60s. And their names are also very similar to either Roman or Greek god or hero names too, because
or
they
Babylonian.
or Babylonian. The Gilgamesh thing, it's interesting. Well, like Thena is supposed to be like Athena,
Mm-hmm.
and Cersei is, of course, an old Greek myth about a sorceress. Icarus is supposed to be evocative of Icarus. I don't know what Kingo comes from, but Phastos is like Hephaestus, because in the comics they specifically took on names and or like the roles similar to that in the Greek and Roman pantheons, because they would often act in their stead of the Greek gods. Because in the Marvel comics, the Greek and Roman gods exist.
Yeah, and we're gonna
Or
see
Greek,
it. We're gonna see at least some of the Greek gods in Thor: Love and Thunder.
yeah, we're going to see Zeus and
Yeah.
Love and Thunder. So the Greek gods exist, but there were times when the Greek gods wanted to like fuck off for a while, and they said to the Eternals, "Hey, tell you what, fill in for us for a while," and they give them some help or do whatever. And so there were times when Thena would fill in for Athena and some of the other characters too. So I'm really glad that they've done some of these shifts. In the comic books, there was one of the Eternals was known as the Forgotten One. He was a great hero that always would get mistaken for somebody else. Sometimes he was mistaken for Hercules, and sometimes he was mistaken for these other heroes. And at one point, when he decided to get more active as a superhero, he took on the name Gilgamesh, and so that's why they're using this guy as Gilgamesh. So
Yeah, I agree with Ghost Hand that I hope we get a good chunk of the movie in like ancient civilization times, specifically around the Babylonian time.
that would be really cool. I mean,
They showed. I mean,
establishing
it
that.
looks like they did a lot to at least CGI the gates of Babylon and the hanging gardens of Babylon. So I think that would be really cool to have it back in that time, and then explain what happens when why they haven't been around. Because I mean, they're obviously in modern times in some of it.
Yes, for sure. I mean,
I
I
mean,
think
We see Cersei in like Times Square.
the majority of it, I think, probably does take place. At least, I mean, because they're going to do their best to establish who these characters are and what they do. So that's my bet that at least half of it is probably going to be build up to who they are and what they're doing, and then the other half will be what they're doing now. I do like the scene at the end where Sprite basically speaks up and says, "Now that Iron Man and Captain America are gone,
Captain Rogers.
Captain Rogers, who's going to lead the Avengers?"
Yeah,
And of course, then Akaris speaks up, "Well, I could do it," and they all laugh.
they all just laugh at
So,
him. Um, and I also and while yes, CD these are not really well known necessarily to everyone in general. To
mhm,
comic book geeks, I mean, they're actually, even for me, I've heard of them, but I've never
right,
read anything with the Eternals. Um, so yes, it is some cool ideas for origins, and and while it's going to be unknown, let's look at some other unknowns that went. And he also said that he thinks this is where we're going to start seeing a decline in popularity of the Marvel movies. I don't think that's going to be the case,
I don't think so
because I
either.
mean, look at what happened with another unknown property, and that was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right,
It
Guardians of the
became one of their
Galaxy,
most successful films of all time because
absolutely, and featured
people
almost
loved it.
right, and featured the majority of the characters were all characters in Guardians that were much lesser known. By I mean, really, Rocket Raccoon. That's a deep dive. Groot. They had become more well known in the comics, but not a ton. You had to be a comic fan to really know who most of those guys were. And then, and they have a history too. Most of them have been around for quite a while. Drax and Gamora, um, particularly, and Star Lord was a character that they had kind of pulled out of mothballs a while ago. And Rocket
Well, he's
Raccoon
been
is
right. He's wasn't Star Lord the one that they'd retconned so many times that
they've retconned him a lot, yeah. And uh, but Rocket is like a serious fucking deep dive there, man. So and it became, yeah, they've become some of the most popular, some of the most successful films, particularly considering that
there's
nobody knew who the fuck they were.
yeah, and actually a lot of like there's a lot of things that I've seen that the most rewatchable Marvel movies are the Guardians movies, or particularly
Right.
Guardians 1.
Particular Guards One, yeah. Um, so it should be interesting to see. Like the Eternals have always been, they have had their own books over the years, but for the more than likely or more often, they've been characters um that were kind of supportive characters. Cersei was a big member of the Avengers for quite a long time. Um, yeah, she was very active in the Avengers for quite a while, for a lot during the late '80s, early and throughout the mid '90s. Star Fox, Thanos' brother, Star Fox, actually was a member of the Avengers for a long time as well. It's interesting to note too, like his character, one of his powers was that he was he was very handsome, and he could manipulate people's minds to either fall in love with him, or at the very least they were become very suggestible, and it was much more effective on the opposite sex, or so they actually did a story more recently, over the year, a few years back, where he got arrested and prosecuted for like sexual assault, essentially, because they found out he was using his power, and but he didn't even know, he didn't even realize he was using his ability. It was like, and I think they even wrote it in that he ended up killing himself, I think, or taking himself out or something, because he could never trust any interaction that he ever had because of his psionic ability. And I think that's what it was. But it also had something to do with Thanos and everything. So yeah, Thanos in the comics, Thanos' brother Eros was a big member of the Avengers. And it was interesting too that they made Thanos and Eros brothers, because Thanos, his name is directly references Thanos, or Thanatos, uh one of the representations of death. And then Eros, his name was Cupid, is the
Yeah,
Roman name for Cupid, or the Greek name for Cupid. So it was just kind of cool, love and death and that kind of thing. But yeah, the Eternals have always had like a place in Marvel. They were created by Jack Kirby back, kind of as a companion, like I said, to a companion kind of story to the New Gods stuff that he did for DC. So it was kind of like his version of the New Gods, and whatever. And so they've been around a lot. So it's interesting, but it is interesting for them to go in this direction toward, instead of saying maybe using a character that's a little more like recognizable or something. So, but you got to start. If you're gonna start a new franchise, you gotta start somewhere, right?
Well, and you know what? Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
It's but yeah,
But
so
the news coming out of the studio, and they're all loving it.
yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, we did see one of the Celestials, the last Celestial, actually, in Guardians. It's on the vid screen.
Well, the nowhere is the floating severed head of a dead Celestial.
Yeah, but there's also a live Celestial show on the Guardians. See it on a vid screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, destroying stuff, which I completely forgot about.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that's the last known living Celestial.
Interesting. Well, like I said, I'm really excited. I think it's going to be great.
Yep.
So we should probably move on because it was just a trailer, and there's not a whole lot we can see from that.
You can speculate a lot, but yeah.
Yeah, you can speculate, but so
we've got what? Yeah, 7 months to speculate. So
lots. Yes, November
or 6 months. 6 months to speculate.
6 months. Yeah. So what's next?
Well, staying on the Marvel theme, MODOK came out on Hulu last week. They dropped the whole series all at once. It's to me that when I saw the stuff, I'm like, that looks very Robot Chicken, and then I see Seth Green in the list of producers. So, that makes sense.
Right.
I've only watched the first 2 episodes so far. They're only a half an hour each.
Right.
Rick and Morty, it ain't.
Right.
But it is irreverent. It's about a villain.
Right. There's a great cast. There's a really great cast. And there's a lot of Easter eggs. There's a lot of little things that they squeeze in for the comic fan. And I was really, really digging that. You got Patton Oswalt as MODOK, as George Tarleton. And you got Melissa Fumero, who plays his wife, Melissa. And she is actually, that is Amy, Amy Santiago from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. For those of you guys who watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I do not.
We also have Amy Garcia plays their daughter, Jody, and Wendy McClendon Covey, famous from the Goldbergs and Reno 911 and whatnot. She plays Monica Rapacini, the one of the big scientists for AIM. You got Ben Schwartz as his son Lou, and John Hamm has done the voice of Iron Man, which is awesome. Whoopi Goldberg will be showing up in an episode. Bill Hader plays Sam Stearns, the leader, also known as the leader from the Hulk stories. John Daly is the super adaptoid. Nathan Fillion will be showing up as Simon Williams, the Wonder Man, which is interesting because there was rumors that he was rumored to play cast as Simon Williams in various movies and stuff for the just a bunch of other actors here that we're probably going to see. There's a bunch that are kind of listed, but it doesn't have what they're playing and stuff. Eddie Pepitone, Bruno Horgan, and Chris Parnell from formerly of Saturday Night Live. Meredith Salinger, who is actually Patton Oswalt's wife, his second wife. It's funny. And I watched the first 2 episodes too. It's funny, and
the first episode's not great.
It's not the greatest, but it's a lot of setting things up and building it up. It is supposed to be, it's a comedy. It's supposed to be really funny and silly, and it does definitely have a lot of that Robot Chicken feel because it's animated that way. I think it's not animated with figures, though. I think it's probably digital and made to look like that.
But yeah, the whole premise is that MODOK's in charge of AIM,
right?
And they're bankrupt, so he sells out to Grumble,
Right.
the
Which
very
is like
Google-like company.
a Google-like company, right? And yeah, so he sells at least a portion, or he sells controlling
Controlling
interest
interest.
or something
Yeah.
like that to Grumble, and then and it's essentially
We're putting
muscled
you in
out.
charge. We're putting you in charge of our new tablet. We want it by Friday.
Yeah, and so the and he's got his minions that work for him and stuff. But then you also
The guy whose
see,
army blew up.
oh man, it's so funny. And then you also see his life at home, and he's got a wife, he's got two kids, his daughter looks just like him, is very has a big head, is mutated, whatever. He's got their hover chair. His son is like kind of this weird kid, like he's Jewish, but they're also the wife is Hispanic, and I think he's supposed to be Jewish, and the dad is Jewish. I mean, MODOK, and so there's some culture clash there, and they talk about the son trying to find a suit for his bar mitzvah, and stuff like that. It looks like it's got potential. I'm willing to keep going and give it a keep, because I haven't been. It didn't blow me away.
Yeah,
It's
it didn't
not.
blow me away either.
I'm not like, wow, it's the best. It's definitely not Rick and Morty, but it does have some potential. I'm definitely going to say it's got potential, and they've got some pretty creative storytelling. And like I said, I do love all of the Marvel like hidden stuff and the snippets and whatnot, the little things they throw in. At one point, the wife is trying to be an influencer, and she's trying to write a book and all these other things. And at one point, she's on a press tour, and she's on some sort of talk show with Dr. Pandemonium, who is this relatively obscure mystical
Oh, then
Marvel villain.
you watched more than the first two then. I haven't
Did
gotten to
I?
that.
Maybe I got to the third one.
The second one's where they go back in time.
Yes, I think I might have watched the third one. The third one, he basically gets roped into like this company seminar, like a leadership seminar that he has to go to, and he brings his kids with him because it's his first weekend with the kids. Because that's
Yeah, they're getting divorced.
They're getting it. She asks him for a divorce in the first episode. So yeah, guys, give it a shot. It's on Hulu. You can binge the whole season. There's 10 episodes. They're roughly a half an hour, and I think we have a winner here, but I just think we might have to see to the end of the season. So yeah, give it a shot. What did you think? I mean, if you kind of feel the same way,
I'm gonna at least give it the first season.
Sure.
And then we'll see from there. But
I think that's a good idea.
I mean, the second episode was better than the first, but the first one was what really. If it was just the first episode, it would probably be on my back burner, waiting for me. As the other ones come out, it wouldn't be the first thing I think of to go watch.
Right on. Excuse me. It's weird. I mean, I like it, but there's a little something about this. It's a little
something.
So like it's the aftertaste. It's not bad. It's just I can't describe it. So So all right. What do we do? What's next? What's going on? What are we doing?
I don't know. What do you want to talk about next? We got the Nevers and Ben Richtens is what I've got on my list.
Well, why don't we get into the Nevers, and then we'll finish off with talking about Ben Richten stuff.
So the Nevers finished it off. Can't wait for the next episode. I want more now.
Right.
Claudia Black is fucking amazing.
She was incredible. I've always liked her. Going back to like Farscape and whatnot. She was a pretty well-known Australian actress, I guess, in Australia. But then Farscape was one of those things that kind of introduced us, American audiences.
Yeah, that and Pitch Black was the other one.
Pitch Black,
and then on.
She did some work on Stargate after, which a lot of the actors from Farscape went over to Stargate.
The various Stargates.
Yes, exactly. So Claudia Black, now she does a lot of voiceover work too. She did some work with the Nathan Drake series,
She's in every one, I think.
Uncharted. I think she is, yeah. But
and it's her and Laura Bailey in the fourth one.
Correct. Yeah. Or in the offshoot one or whatever it is. Yeah. The one that doesn't feature Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
She's great though. I mean, she's so this final episode, you know, like I talked about in the last week, the first episode dropped us.
There will be spoilers here, so
yeah. Well, the first episode had, you know, a big reveal at the end of the episode. We were like, holy shit, you know, Whedon, what are you doing? You're spilling the beans in the very first episode. But this one was the one that really kind of was like revealed everything.
Yeah.
You know, this was the episode that answered 90% of my questions and brought up about 10% more. Maybe 20, maybe more like 80-20, because it did answer a lot. And it starts off with her basically it starts off in a science fiction setting,
post-apocalyptic type of setting.
Right. I couldn't tell if that was Earth. I don't think it was Earth.
It was Earth.
It wasn't Earth?
Mm-hmm.
But it was in a situation where I guess we've more or less fucked up the planet a lot. There's wars happening. There's interdimensional and alien beings, and there
was two rival factions fighting over alien technology, and it was the alien technology that also caused the Earth, because people can't manage it.
Right. But not just the alien technology; it's also there were also the aliens, and then they talk about
because one group wanted to get rid of them, one said they were there to help.
Right. So it almost seemed like interdimensionally too, that they travel maybe interdimensionally, or they travel via like wormholes or whatever. And one of the
complete left turn from where the show has been for the first 5 episodes.
And so in the first act of this final episode of this section of this half of the season or whatever it is, they're betrayed. Essentially, the military unit is betrayed, and everybody kind of gets shot, and people are dying. And Claudia Black's character, who's been through a lot, apparently, she deals with a lot of. She's been a career soldier, and she's dealt with a lot. And the technology.
She's a stripe. She's an elite soldier.
Right. And apparently the technology is high enough that, you know, people can recover from wounds fairly quickly and damage done to them pretty quickly and stuff like that. And there's one of the members in the squad is also like a psychic. She's some sort of mental abilities.
Caused by the aliens.
Right. Caused by the influence of the aliens.
Spores.
The spores that they release. Right. And so, but which still weren't fully understood.
Yep.
But from what I understood, though, from what we could tell from the show, is that spores pretty much did this. It made people psychic, essentially, made them empathic. And so...
And Claudia Black's character, I think, as a stripe, I think they're genetically augmented here.
Yeah, I think you might be right, too. I think Claudia Black is on the taller side for a woman as well.
She's 5'9".
Okay, so she's on the taller side for a woman. They filmed her to look even taller. I think she meant to. They meant to make her look like she's kind of an Amazon. And but anyway, she things happen in the episode. She's dying, right? She's dying, and then you see these energy tendrils, these energy kind of more like tentacles come out, and they're from the alien creature. I can't remember what they called it, but they had a name for it. And the creature is leaving. The creature is like is able to finally escape, and they're able to get it away. And the creature reaches out with these energy tentacles and essentially pulls her spirit with it. And then she wakes up in the body of Amalia True, the widow True. And so now we also see, but before that, we see more of the origin of Amalia True, about how she was kind of a single woman in late 1890s London, and she's working in a bakery, and then the bakery, and she's making, she's got a life or whatever. She's an attractive young woman and whatnot, and then she sees, like, at one point she finds out that the guy that she kind of has her eye on is going to marry this other woman, and then
Well, no. At first, the woman says the baker woman that she's working for tells her not to follow him and take this offer from the one kind of sleazy guy.
right, from the butcher, the
Yeah,
guy
from the
that
butcher, because he's got the money to marry and the other guy doesn't, and he's never going to have it. And then turns
right,
out that guy becomes like this super rich businessman.
right, and then marries rich, and
Yeah,
then and at the time too, she didn't have a whole lot of options because because
Galanthi, by the way,
the
the
Galanthi,
Galanthi.
right. And her boss at the bakery basically says, "Hey, I gotta let you go because I can bring my kid on. And I don't have to pay her. I can have my kid work the shop." And she
Mm-hmm.
goes, "I tell you what, I'll still pay you to do deliveries,
I'll pay you a
but
penny to do
pay a
the
penny a delivery, right?"
down at the wharf.
And which ain't a lot, but a penny a day, I don't know. But so she does end up taking taking the offer and becoming the wife of this butcher. And yeah, it doesn't seem like he's abusive or anything, but she does end up, like, losing a couple, miscarrying like 3 times, and then
Oh yeah,
eventually
he's just an ass about it too.
he's an ass about that. He's like, hey, I just, I'm serious. If this is the third one you've lost, um, and then eventually, but
He's
because it's
taking care
moving
of
very
his ailing
quickly.
mother,
He's
and
taking, yeah, his ailing mother is, like, she's just slowly dying in a bed, and that there's even a doctor at one point says, "I don't know, she's pretty tough
but
actually.
yeah,
She
it's
could
because
last a while."
this is after her husband
After the
dies,
husband dies, because the husband dies, and she becomes the widow True,
right?
and she is um you see, like, it was very unexpected. He probably had some
Yeah,
kind of heart attack or something,
and there's
and
debts, and so
right, there's lots of debts,
she's completely penniless now.
right. So, and then we see it must have been the point where she just decides to throw herself into the river.
So one thing I just want to go back, because she goes back to the bakery, and the baker woman tells her that she always told her she should have gone after that other guy. I'm like, I would have slapped that bitch.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But she was a very mild mannered kind of, well,
Mm-hmm.
the Lord
Has his
has
has his
his
plan.
plan, whatever, and she just kind of accepts her lot in life and works really hard and stuff, and you can see she's slowly descending into depression. After the husband dies, and I mean, it's not like she had such a great situation with, but she's still got to care for the ailing mother, and um barely scraping by. And then we must have seen at that point that, or at some point, that she decides to throw herself into the river. And then when the spaceship uh, arrives in um, in London, and that is essentially the Galanthi. Apparently, the Galanthi transforms itself into some kind of ship, or
Yeah.
builds a ship around it, or something like that. And it spreads out, it throws out its spores all across London, and nobody remembers it, of course,
A couple.
except for a couple. And they and then it crash lands somewhere, it goes somewhere, and Amalia, she wakes up and she's underwater and she swims to the top, and you see Amalia True basically speaking like the character
White and
of
black.
uh, of Claudia Black, and I can't remember what Claudia Black's character's name was. I'll have to look it up. But
Zephyr.
Zephyr, okay. And
They
so
don't
now,
give their real names in the future. That's the
right,
other
it's
thing.
some sort of, like, social contract thing. They don't. It's important that they don't give out their real names. So now she is basically in the body of Amalia True, and that really explained a lot about remember
The
when the
fighting
Beggar King.
abilities.
Well, the fighting abilities for sure, because we knew Amalia had the ability to see short snippets into the future. But I always wondered, what was it? Why was she such a kick-ass fighter? Why did that suddenly happen to her? She went from being a baker basically to being this kick-ass fighter. I'm like, where did that come from? And so now we know it came from that basically her soul being implanted into this body that didn't need it anymore. And so you see, so there's that. She's immediately
And
taken to basically an insane asylum
yep,
because, well, they found her drowning in the river. And what do you do with a troubled woman? Well, you take her to the asylum.
yep.
And right after this, you see this is where the touch starts showing up, and people start showing up with super abilities, and the London,
And that's
to
where
their credit, they didn't like round them all up into a camp and kill them, or burn them at the stake as witches, because we were just coming out of that era and into the Victorian era, or we were in the
well, we would have
Victorian
been
era.
well past that. I mean, that was we're over 200 years past the witch trials.
True, but you know how humans are. You all of a sudden you see a bunch of women, particularly because a lot of the touch, the majority of them were women, and you could just put it these superstitious religious people that are going to be like, no, they're touched by the devil. You also see a lot of the character of she's very much like, she sees a lot of snippets and like teases of the future and stuff like that. But it actually made a lot of sense though, when at that point where she was interacting with Nick Frost's character, the Beggar King, and he's got his razor to her face, up by her face. He's like, I'll cut you, like in the second episode or something, or first episode, and she just leans against the razor a little bit and says, "Well, this isn't my face." And I'm just like, oh shit, that made a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Well,
so while she's in the
and
asylum, she's
there's
figuring things out.
yeah, there's constant height jokes. She keeps talking about how short she is. Higher Joe.
Right. She's like, I've got world-class tits, but I can't see over a table,
Over a chair.
over a chair.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is probably the best line of
it's a great
any
line.
show that I've seen in a long time. Renee and I actually had to stop the show and rewind it because we missed everything after that for like the next couple of minutes because we were laughing so hard.
It was
Because the delivery is also just perfect.
Well, I loved how the actress Laura Donnelly, she really just does a great job just completely shifting her character
Mm-hmm.
and becoming, Zephyr, and just like really, really like doing a great job with that. That was really impressive, and changing her accent, the manner of speaking, and how she was so kind of put off by everything, and she was just, impatient,
Well,
and everything. It was really
and that's
great.
the other thing. So the entire episode is broken up into chapters. Oh.
Right. So you see her figuring things out, because at first she's like, or Stripe. It was Stripe? Yeah. She just called herself Stripe at first, and then,
Yeah.
But they did a great job kind of like, like as she's trying to kind of continuing to figure this out and figure out like what happened, why did the spores cause all these random super abilities instead of just the empathy or whatever, and why are we looking for, where is the what's the creature called again?
Oh, the Galanthe.
The Galanthe, where is it? Why? And that was the thing. It seemed like she was playing dumb a lot. It's like, but she actually knew everything. She knew all about. She knew where to go. So it shows her building her relationship with the doctor.
Yep.
I tell you one thing, man. Claudia Black has definitely. It's so funny. I keep saying that. She's only 2 years older than I am. She was born in 1972, but she is definitely aged well. She looks fantastic. I'm looking at some images of on IMDb that she's, like, damn, she looks great.
Yeah. So the other thing that we see is when she's in the asylum, you see that she meets Malady.
Yes, and they become friends.
Well, Malady tries to become her. Well, it's actually Sarah at the
Sarah.
time
Mhm.
before she's Malady. But she really wants to be her friend,
Right.
and because of who Zephyr, Stripe, whatever, Amalia, Amalia,
Amalia.
um,
Amalia.
uh,
Molly.
Amalia, Amalia. They because of who she is from the future, she doesn't have that ability to connect
Correct.
at that time, so she
Right.
doesn't really do anything, and she actually sells her out at the end.
Yes, she does. And because Sarah really is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
And she keeps saying that she's feeling better and she thinks she's going to get out. And they're all like, no, she's not getting out of here. And all the while, the same time, Stripe is figuring out how to be a lady and how to blend in, how to be, she's learning to talk with the accent and
another
um,
one of the inmates there teaches her how to be a
te-
lady.
right, teaches her the proper way to do things and the proper way to, the rules of society and whatnot. So, um, and eventually she does. She gets out eventually, but it's funny because you can tell that she obviously tried to sabotage herself a few times too, because like there's a part where she's sitting ready to go into what is essentially the review board. It's just like, hey, I can get out, and the next scene she's bloody, kind of bloodied up, obviously a little beat up, and she's in solitary because she did something, probably did or said something
Yeah, and
that's
that's when we see what's her name, the lady in the wheelchair.
right,
And
who basically is the woman that sponsors her and gets her out and helps her to start up the orphanage
yep,
and introduces her around to um like to patients and or penance, actually penance Adair and stuff like that. So but yeah, Claudia Black, she's doing a great job though. I was really impressed, and it's a shame that we're not going to see her again probably in the show. I mean, we might in like flashback or something,
and
but for the
flash
most
back
part,
or flash forward at that point. But
yeah.
the
I
time
mean,
travel thing, it's a flashback, but it's a flash forward. It's kind of weird.
yeah, that's the other thing too. Yeah, I mean, she was like, how did I get back in time? I mean, that was a
Yeah.
complete shock to her as well. So uh yeah, honestly, Claudia Black, I'm just looking at some of her stuff here. Has done a shit ton of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She was actually in an episode of the Dresden Files, the show, that she played Liz Fontaine.
Okay.
So I mean, she's done.
I'm
She's
sure I
I'm just
remembered that from the time, but I've
right.
blocked out most of that.
I'm looking at all of this stuff here. Home and Away, Seven to the Sins, GP. A lot of this is Australian television. County Practice, Water Rats, Amazon High, TV movie.
So,
She was in Hercules: The Legendary Journeys as Cassandra. She was in a couple episodes of Hercules. City Life, Good Guys, Bad Guys, Pitch Black. She was in an episode of Xena. She did The Beastmaster, Queen of the Damned, and then she was in Farscape from 99 to 03, the Farscape video game, the Peacekeeper Wars, which is the kind of the closing up that series, God of War, the video game, the original video game, Dresden Files, Conan video game. I mean, she's done a lot of voiceover work. Uncharted, like I was saying, Uncharted. Looks like I think she came in on the second one, Among Thieves. Dragon Age Origins, Mass Effect 2. She's been in some huge games, like huge. So Gears of War 3, Uncharted 3, Mass Effect 3, Diablo 3, The Amazing Spider-Man. I'm not gonna run through all of it, but like I said, a lot of shit. So anyway, you were saying.
no, we also see though when she gets Amalia winds up down in that cavern where they're
Yes.
digging out the ship,
Yes.
and she has a bunch of visions as well.
Uh-huh. Things that are obviously like teasing us as to
Mm-hmm.
what's to come, I'd say.
Yeah, and it's the um there's the disembodied voice that asking, "Do you think you were the only one who hitched a ride?"
Oh, wow. I missed that part.
And that's when you see all the different images, including things like the Beggar King. Even Hugo Swan, I think, is in the.
Yeah, he is. He's in there somewhere too. I think he's much more important. There's something about Hugo. He's way more important than we're seeing, I think.
This article that I'm seeing here, they're saying that the Galanthes human form is Myrtle.
Which one was Myrtle?
The one that speaks all the different languages.
Oh, that's what you figure that, or that's the.
So they say, why is the Galanthes human form a teenage polyglot named Myrtle?
Who says this?
This is on Vulture.
Oh, I see.
I'm just looking at a thing about the.
Well, so that's a theory.
Yeah,
it's okay. She is funny. Myrtle is actually a crack up.
She is.
Like her. And you got to talk about like what a hell of an actress right there. Like she's able to really express herself by speaking all these other languages. It's like crazy. The woman in the wheelchair is Lavina Bidlow, just so you know.
Yes.
And she's got an agenda too.
Oh yeah, she does.
Because it was revealed in a previous episode that like she's working with that doctor that's like mutilating people and doing all those brain experiments. I mean, you do see Amalia at near the end there when she's talking to the Galanthe, and she's like, "Hey, come on, what's going on?" And she's talking to the creature, and it's the lights glowing, whatever. And then she gets attacked by.
Yeah, see, I left penance for you.
Yeah, I left my heart. I mean, she feels very strongly for Penance. I mean, obviously, I don't think they don't have a sexual relationship, but they, she adores Penance, and they're very good, close friends. And then all of a sudden, like she's like, I like it when she got attacked by all the the automaton men or whatever, and she went, "Oh, it's happening now," and she's like, "Oh, it's now, all right," because she saw the vision for it.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, it's happening. So, but I did like the fact that her, like, she's trying to get away, and she's in the elevator, and one of the miners basically still had enough wherewithal after the lobotomy that she had to use her powers to lift up the or to power the elevator at the very least.
Yeah, that was the one chick from the beginning, I think, that got taken.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
That could lift things.
They could lift things. Mm-hmm.
The maid, ever.
Yeah. It's man, I tell you, it's a solid show, guys. If you're not watching The Nevers, really check it out. It's one of the best examples.
I plan on watching all the episodes again.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably do it again because I think now that I know what I know, I think that there's probably Easter eggs and there's probably things that
are hinting at.
Yeah, that now you'll be able to kind of realize.
Yep.
But it's really a solid show. It's one of those best examples of what made Joss Whedon such an incredible writer and producer and television producer, really, more than anything else, because he really is spectacularly good. It's too bad that he's a toxic individual and kind of an asshole in Hollywood, but the dude is really good.
And you can say whatever you want about him. He's an asshole. He is a toxic individual. That's pretty much become apparent. But the man was brilliant when it comes to creating mythos. I don't like George Lucas personally, on a personal level, but I think he brought one of the greatest mythos that I've ever seen in the Star Wars universe. By creating that universe, it's a great thing. Now, do I think George is the same? No. George isn't not necessarily a toxic individual or anything like that I've heard. He's just a dick that doesn't give a fuck about his fans. But don't
hold back, Chris. Tell us how you really feel.
Dude,
Come on, man. Get it to me.
I've said
Give
that.
it to me.
You know that. I've said that for years, man.
No, I
George
know.
Lucas doesn't give a shit about it, about the fans.
No, true. That's quite true.
But
He,
he had a brilliant idea. He's also a shitty writer. He is a
I
horrible
really is
writer.
not a good writer.
He's a great idea man.
Yeah, he's an idea man.
And hey, I got this idea for a universe. Okay, great. Now I want to write this. No, George, you sit back and rake in the dough. We'll write it for you.
Right. I really did like I liked how the reveal too. I think it was in not this yeah, it wasn't this episode, it's the one before it where they're gonna hang Malady and you find out that they swapped each other. She swapped out her little minion there, and that the Malady was masquerading as that reporter the whole time. I was like, son of a bitch, you know? I mean, she's crazy, but she's just crazy enough that she could like go, all right, I'm going to put on a different mask and I'm going to be somebody else now. And it was like, I like it when she pulled the wig off and she pulled her, you know, she had a fake nose on too and took the glass off and pulled the thing out of her corset to make her boobs look bigger. And it was just like, holy shit, I did not see that. I figured there was something about the reporter that was going to be revealed, but I did not guess it was Malady. I was like, damn, that was really good.
Yeah, you know, all right, just to go back to the Star Wars thing real quick, because this is something I actually meant to bring up last week that I forgot. And CD bringing up the fact that Lucas rammed the fans in the rear with Jar Jar and then ran.
That's fucked up. That's fucked up.
One of the things that I saw that made me go, oh, wow, is that there has now been more time passed between when episode 1 came out and now as there was between the time that New Hope came out and episode 1.
Say that again. What?
There is more time passed now between the time that episode 1 came out. So episode 1, the
77.
No, episode 1.
Oh, episode 1. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So the Phantom Menace. There's more time now between now and when episode 1 came out.
Yeah.
Than between when New Hope came out and episode 1. So we've had more time between episode 1 and now than we had between New Hope and episode 1.
What the fuck, man?
It was like May 13th or something like that. It hit it. And
it was one
day more than the time frame.
Episode 1 came out when, in like 97 or something like
99, I think.
It's been 22 years. It's been more than 22 years since episode 1 came out.
Yeah, it came out in May of 99, and it's May of 2021 now. It's been 22 years.
Why you gotta ruin my day? Fucking ruin my day. Who said that? CD? Fuck you, man.
No, well, CD didn't say that. I saw that on Facebook.
You saw it. Oh, all right. Never mind, CD. I'm sorry. What the fuck? Why do you gotta ruin my day?
CD just made me think of it.
20 years of Jar Jar. You're right, man. That's fucked up.
So yeah, it's been over 22 years now.
Wow. I remember the release of the enhanced original trilogy. I went to theater for that, and none of those movies since. I saw the original.
I saw the original. I saw the only movie I think that I don't know if I saw in theaters, at least not when it first really opened, was Empire. I think I did see it in theaters. But that's not one I remember. I remember New Hope because it was one of the first movies I ever went to. I think it was the very first movie I ever went to in an indoor theater. We always went to drive-ins. And then I remember Return of the Jedi because it was one of the first movies I was able to go to. Just me and my buddy were able to ride our bikes up to Oakland Mall to see the movie.
I did not see the original in the theaters. I was too young. I saw it years later. I saw it a couple years later on regular TV, I think. And then I was able, or something like that. It couldn't have been that. It was something because I remember seeing Star Wars on HBO at my cousin's house because they had like some kind of pay station. It might not have been HBO, but it was some kind of pay station when the pay stations first became a thing. And I think I was able to see it. That was might have been the first time I was able to see it uncut, without commercials. But I think maybe Star Wars. It was the first time I actually saw it was maybe on broadcast television.
I didn't think
Like,
it was on broadcast television until like Mike got it in the 2000s or 90s.
because I remember seeing, maybe I saw Empire first, because I know I saw Empire in the theater. I'm trying to remember where I actually originally saw. I know that I did see Star Wars on a pay channel at my cousin's. My mom's cousin, like she got.
Okay, so
got
I take
Star
that
Wars.
back. New Hope made its network television debut on CBS on February 26, 1984.
I'm certain I saw Star Wars before that. When does it show when it was first shown on pay cable?
First, a uh, I'll keep looking.
Okay. Let me see. But that's nuts, man. It's crazy pants. I think the only Star Wars movie that other than, I eventually did see New Hope in the theater when they re-released it, and I saw it at the enhanced versions and stuff, like that.
Yeah, when they brought them back out in the mid to late 90s, I went to every single one of them the on opening night.
Sure, I think I went to them as well, and they were entertaining. It was great seeing them on this big screen, and I never had a problem with the extra crap that they put in. Never had a big problem with it.
I had a problem with the changing. I've had a problem with the way that they changed the end credits in a lot of them. So like, I have a real problem with them changing the end credits of Return, or the end of Return of the Jedi, and replacing Anakin with Hayden Christensen.
Yeah,
I think that's fucking stupid.
That was kind of that was kind of dumb.
So that's really what I had an issue with.
Oh, that's interesting. The actress who played Malady, or was playing Malady, Amy Manson, is also, she was on Once Upon a Time. She played Merida. She was Merida from Brave in Once Upon a Time. But done a bunch of stuff too. That's the thing. A lot of the characters on the Nevers have a lot of work under their belts, but a lot of it is not in like network television stuff. It's a lot of work in England, and a lot of movies, and like I said, British television and stuff like that.
So it looks like I'm only finding some snippets here, but it looks like it was on HBO a year earlier in February of '83.
That might have been it, but I swear it seems early. It seems like I was younger when I saw it. Maybe I was able to see it on an early videotape.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's tough I'm old and I can't remember shit. We should probably move on a little bit here. Yeah. We've got we did want to talk a little bit about Van Richten's Guide, the new Dungeons & Dragons expansion. This is the Ravenloft expansion, bringing Ravenloft into the 5th edition. What do you think so far? You've got the material in your D&D Beyond.
Yeah, and you guys should actually have access to it as well. But
yeah, I just haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
There's some things so far. I haven't really gotten into it a whole lot yet. I am starting to get into it. I like some of the stuff that I've read. It's kind of cool in the fact that these are things where you don't have to set a whole campaign there. You can just pick and choose what you want. And the characters can just be walking through the woods and a mist rolls through and all of a sudden, they're in Barovia or they're in Falkovnia or Haslan, or I'm looking at all the different names. They just wind up in one of these domains of dread. And they can be there for however long you want them to, because turning around and walking back through the mist doesn't get you out.
Right. I always liked Ravenloft when they introduced it originally in second edition. It was, I've always had a real soft spot for vampires and werewolves and the classic horror elements of, and those stories and whatnot. So when they really were integrating that into Dungeons and Dragons, I had a great time kind of, messing around with it and stuff. And, I have a number of the original Ravenloft novels. I have Vampire the Mists. Which was the very first one, Vampire the Mists. I have Istrad. I have a couple other ones over there. Baroness of Blood, Lord of the Necropolis, Knight of the Black Rose, which is the one that features Lord Soth from Dragonlance. What I really did like about Ravenloft is that you saw characters and elements from all of the various worlds of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, like I said, because of the way that they're set up, kind of tie everything together.
Right. I mean, there's even things that you could say, well, you could even planar travel using Ravenloft. I mean, you could enter Ravenloft in, the world of the Forgotten Realms, which is Orth, I think.
No, Orth is Greyhawk.
Greyhawk, okay.
Faerun
is Faerun, yes, excuse me. So you could enter and, being a character in Faerun, and you could exit and Orth and all of a sudden be, in the Greyhawk world, or wind up in Kryn.
Or get dropped off in Kryn or Dark Sun
or maybe even on one of the other elemental planes. You didn't
Eberron.
Sure. So
this is also the first book that I'm seeing that is doing what they've been talking about with, instead of doing character race, you do lineage.
Right.
And so what that is, when you create your character at first level, choose whether that your character is a member of the human race or one of the game's fantastical races. Currently, you can choose one of the following lineages, and it gives a couple of different lineages. And then it goes into like ability scores. When determining your ability scores, you increase one of those scores by 2 and increase a different score by 1, or you increase 3 scores by 1. So I mean, that's how you can get around like all those ability bonuses, stuff like that. It's a way for you to more customize your character, and I understand what they're doing. I do not plan on ever getting rid of race in my campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand wanting to change some of the things up. But yeah, like they've got Damfirs, Reborns, things like that are different things that you can play in Ravenloft.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so like the Damfir is a partial vampire.
Right. Yeah, half vampire.
And the Reborn are a type of undead.
Correct. I am curious to see how that changes gameplay. I don't think it's going to do much. The whole lineage thing. I think it's just a way of basically taking what we've already been doing and going, all right, here we're just going to do it slightly different, just to kind of appease some of the audience.
Yeah, I understand how. So like, instead of taking an orc, like I want to play a half orc, and okay, they get +1, or like a dwarf, say, you get +2 to strength and +1 to con. Period.
Right.
Well, what if I don't like, with like Renee's character, who she was playing a dwarf that wasn't like the rest. So what if she wants to get a +2 to still get the +1 to con, but get a +2 to dex?
Right.
Because she's a thinner, leaner dwarf. That type of thing. then I can understand why people would want something like that to change things up. But in the case of anything, if that's what you want, your DM.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, the rules are not rules. That's the thing. D&D has always been about these are guidelines.
Correct.
If you don't like something, get rid of
Change
it.
it.
It's your
Yeah.
game.
Absolutely. So, you know, I've always felt like that, you know, you always prescribe to the golden rule of gaming. And, you know, it's the golden rule really is to have fun more than anything else. But if you don't like a certain rule, you don't have to use it. You know, you don't want to use the whole advantage disadvantage system, which I personally think is one of the best innovations that D&D ever made.
I agree.
You don't have to use it if you don't want to, you know.
Instead of having to figure out a bunch of pluses or minuses, all right, you get advantage. You get to roll twice. Or you have disadvantage because you can't see.
Yeah. And you can still do things like, you know, you can still make things more difficult or make things less difficult for the fighter. Or you can still say things like, well, you get advantage and you also get +3 to your attack because, you know, temporarily or whatever it is. Like I've got, I mean, they still have, you know, skills and feats and whatever else that do that. I have one of the things that I can do as a paladin is I can channel divinity and I can make my I can for like a full minute or 10 minutes or whatever it is, I have my sword is I get a +3 to hit no matter what, you know. And I have to do that. I have to add that in my head because it doesn't like I can't it doesn't adjust it in D&D Beyond, but I can still like okay, one of my channel divinity powers is being able to do that, you know, make a holy weapon or something like that, I think it's called. But you know, ultimately do what you like in your game.
And I agree that you're right, CD. That's why there's a dungeon master and not a computer program. You're not playing this on a computer. You're playing it in real life, and people can make decisions.
Correct. Absolutely.
I do it all the time.
Sure. Oh yeah, you make command decisions and you make I mean there's definitely things in your game that you're like, nope, that's not what we do here.
Yeah,
know?
well, and there are things where I may make a decision right then and say, all right, but we'll talk about it afterwards. But I don't want to slow the game down
Right.
by searching through the books for 20 minutes to find some rule to I'm just going to make a ruling right there and say we'll look it up later, and if I'm wrong then we'll change it for the future, but for right now this is what.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I mean I like that. I was like I like how that you are willing to listen to the players too. You know, you're like you're not necessarily like nope, this is my final word. You're like, yeah, well, let's do it this way for now and we'll talk about it later. So that's good because you got to listen to your players. You got to be able to be open to their ideas as well.
Well, and it's the same thing. Like I've said, I don't want to introduce what you call it, completely blanking on their names. The new class, the
Dampiers or
no the in Tasha's
the artificers.
Artificers. I know that that's something Pete's interested in. I think that artificers are too powerful the way that they're built in there. I am not against using them at some point, but I want to kind of tweak them a little to get them to what I think is a good balance for our game. Now, if that turns out to be unbalanced and too squishy or too little, then I can look at it and say, okay, well we'll buff this later. But it's one of those things where I think you really need to be able to do that. Oh, hey, Iron Therapy. Love the show. Listen to it on my afternoon walks. Don't normally tune in to the live show, but they great. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate
Hey,
it.
thanks for swinging by, man.
Yeah, if
you're catching us near the end,
give us a follow.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
That would be great.
Really appreciate it. Love that you listen.
Yeah, trying to get to that 50 mark. So,
but yeah, I think that is. I think you have to have that. I mean, the game isn't just about the dungeon master. Yes, I've always joked around that as a dungeon master, you are God, games operations director. That is what you. That is who you are. You are the god of the game. You are the one that's in control. But you have to listen to your players, and you have to, because it's their story too.
Correct. It is. It's everybody's story. It's like you can't just you can't. I mean, yes, the dungeon master is the one that guides it, but I
Yeah,
mean, the story is built by everybody involved.
yeah. I've got the story in my head, but if you guys deviate from it, I have to be ready to change. I mean, there's a lot of jokes. I belong to a forum that's all for on Facebook. It's a group. It's all DMs, and people are always asking for advice, and a lot of new DMs come on there saying, "Hey, I'm about to run my first thing. What's your advice?" And almost always it's, "Don't panic. Be ready to improvise. Your players will fuck you."
Yeah. Yes. As we've seen many, many times on Critical Role, or we've seen in our own games, the players will fuck you, particularly when you've got players like Sam Riegel or Liam O'Brien.
Sam Riegel is an agent of chaos.
He is.
Period.
Period.
Oh well, thanks, Iron. Appreciate the follow. Even if we weren't on, we still appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, but yes, he is a complete and total agent of chaos. Just watching him, that is, and I've heard that he is nowhere near as difficult to manage outside of the game. That's who he is when he plays. But yeah, he is just a complete and total agent of chaos.
Oh, for sure. I like the fact that with Sam, he knows when to say when, though. There are times when he knows when to.
Usually.
Yeah. There are times when
Dude, I just got. So the episode I'm on right now is the one just past where the entire group, in 116, I'm in 117. In episode 116, the entire cast just loses it for like 5 minutes because Matt is talking about Shiver and Quiff.
Oh.
And they just ran with that.
Yeah, they didn't let. I mean, it comes up again every once
in a
while.
Renee said that becomes a theme for like 5 episodes.
Yeah, the whole Quiff thing. Oh man, it was so damn funny.
But yeah,
it was really funny. I'm currently listening to the current episode, and
yeah, Renee's already finished it.
Got like another 15 minutes on it or something like that. So, yeah, guys, if you want to introduce some really cool shit into your game, then yes, check out Van Richten's guide and check out the stuff for Ravenloft. It's some pretty cool supplemental stuff.
Yeah, there's some stuff in there that I'm definitely going to be using at some point. You guys will see some things. You may never wind up in a Domain of Dread, but you never know, you might. Because let's face it, Vecna was in Barovia for a while.
That's true. Vecna did become, I believe he did become a lord or whatever it is, So a lord of a domain or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he actually fought with Strahd, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I haven't found that yet to see if they put that one in here at all. Which they might. I don't know. I don't know what that. But yeah, so far I like it. I like it as an expansion. It's got some cool ideas. I like the idea of implementing some horror aspects into a game. I don't know that I would ever run a total horror campaign type of thing, but that's just not my thing. I've tried running Vampire because I love the game, but
is there a stat for Goth in Ravenloft? That is a background.
Yeah. But I always loved the Vampire the Masquerade game, but I've never been able to efficiently storytell it. I just can't come up with the stories that I feel are good enough to actually play that, to actually run that game. I love playing in it though, and I would love the opportunity again someday. But yeah, Ravenloft though, this stuff there's gonna definitely be some stuff I think that I would use at
Well,
least, especially since you guys are running into a bunch of undead and stuff, anyways, and
well,
you're trying to basically destroy an undead god.
well, I mean, Octavian and I are built to destroy undead, so it's
Yeah.
what we do.
Which oh shit did he do that well in the
It really did, really did. That his channel divinity really works out well
yeah.
with those things. Like my channel divinity is much weaker as a paladin, but I have holy strikes and stuff, or whatever, divine strikes and shit like that. So
All right, so Iron Therapy just said that kind of off topic, but wanted to say that he binged Jupiter's Legacy so quickly. Surprisingly great show.
yeah,
That's another thumbs up for Jupiter's Legacy, which I haven't started yet.
yeah, absolutely. It's very bingeable. It's very easy. You'll get through the 8 episodes in a day, and you'll just be like, wow, that did not feel like 8 episodes. They're roughly 45 minutes a piece. So I think if we don't see them on broadcast television at some point, I'd be surprised because they are kind of built for it. But
Well, a lot of those shows.
yeah, I think they do that on purpose. I think they were like, let's build this show and let's put in space for commercials. But if it gets sold to Netflix or whatever, I mean, Mark Millar signed a contract with Netflix essentially to produce content for them, and this is his first foray into it. So
Back to Ravenloft though, I like CD's comment just now. Just need to douse yourself in holy water, so if you get bit, they burn.
probably more effective if you use just like a holy oil because it hangs out more.
So you have Italian lineage. Are there
I
a lot
do.
of Italian or vampires in Italian folklore? Because I mean, with all the garlic that Italians eat, I would think that would be detrimental to a vampire's health.
We are anathema to vampires because of the garlic. It gets in our blood. It makes it bitter. Yes. I believe that because of Italy being relatively close to the Central European countries and whatnot, that most of the vampire myths of Italy and Rome were very similar to the vampire myths of Transylvania, of Romania, of those kind of
Which,
that area of the world.
speaking of that, so this is a little segue, just to finish up the show here because we're past time. But
Yeah,
the
I'm hungry, man.
Did you see that they've turned the castle that was the inspiration for Dracula's castle in Transylvania into a vaccination clinic?
I heard that. That is fucking awesome. That's really fucking funny.
And they're hoping that way they can actually get more people to come out and get vaccinated because they're having a hard time getting people to come out to get vaccinated.
Yeah,
I guess.
I saw
In that region.
statement from the government saying that that roughly half of the adults in America have been vaccinated.
Yeah, they're saying I just saw a thing that New England, like the New England area, um, they are actually at the highest rate of vaccinations in the country. That over 70% have gotten at least.
That's
I know
awesome.
here in the U.S. or here in Michigan, they're saying we're at 55%
Yeah, yeah.
of getting at least the first vaccine. Which, I'm sorry, that's not vaccinated.
No, no. You got to get that second shot.
Yep.
I'm looking at a few things here about Italians and vampires. There's not a whole lot that's coming up, but the Italian cinema was known for some very well-known vampire movies over
Okay.
the years. So, just like the spaghetti western was kind of a thing where they would go over to Italy and they'd film westerns over there and stuff. There were a lot of the Hammer films, a lot of the movies of that era, the 70s, produced a lot of it, vampire movies, and many of them were actually shot in Italy or in that general vicinity. I'm sure we could go into more detail about this, but I would have to. It would take time away from our show. But I know.
Yeah, I think we should probably wrap things up.
Anyway. So, guys, thanks for joining us tonight on this hot Tuesday night here in the Motor City. Be sure to tell all your friends about us. The more followers we could get, the better. We are currently sitting at, it says follower goal 39, but it actually says on Twitch that we are at 40 followers.
Who knows?
So it was really great that you guys all joined us tonight. We had looks like we're about 7 people. Iron Therapy, welcome, and thanks for
listening to the podcast.
Yeah,
I know CD said he listened to us on the podcast first, and then which is a nice touch.
Yeah, but we really like it when you guys chime in on
the towel day. I didn't.
Yeah, today's towel day. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, did you? Come on, you hoopy fruit. Did you have your towel? But yeah, thanks for checking out the show, and Auntie, thanks for chiming in as well. We really like it when you guys chime in the chat. We can interact with you guys there. So guys, be sure to check us out in all the places you can find quality podcasting. Guys, we are on iTunes, we're on the Google Play Store, we're on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, radio.com, and of course you can download and stream all of our episodes at nerdswithalcoholshow.com. We are here every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock on Twitch here, and then we put the show up later on YouTube a few days later.
Now we will be dark next week because I'll be out of town.
You'll be out of town, that's right.
So we will be off next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
No!
We actually won't be back until Tavern Nights a week from Friday. That'll be our next show. We won't be doing Tavern Talk or Nerds with Alcohol next week.
That's right.
So because I will be out of town, and I just won't have the internet abilities to be able to do this. So.
Yes, you'll be in the dark,
I'll be in hotels.
The backwoods of Tennessee, right?
I'll be in hotels and stuff like that. So I can't trust the internet service.
No.
So
of course not.
But
I don't blame you. It's okay.
But yeah, I'll be putting stuff up on Facebook too. Just everybody. We will not be back. We will not be here next week. We will be back in 2 weeks. So
don't worry, guys. You'll be able to get your nerd fill next.
Not this Friday, but have fun and don't get hunted. Yeah.
Exactly. In those woods.
Yeah.
But yes, not this Friday, but next Friday we will have our next Tavern Nights show. Watch us sit around and play D&D. And we had 2 big fights last game, and that was we finished off a fight, and then we got into a big fight. We hit 7th level, so we're just kind of keep moving forward. Hopefully, we will be in Greyhawk soon.
But yeah, so remember, you can follow us on most of the social medias. We are on Facebook, Nerds with Alcohol Show. We are on Twitter at Drinking Nerds. We are on Instagram, Drinking Nerds. We're on Untapped, the beer app. Just search for Drinking Nerds, send us a friend request, and we'll get you added. If you're interested in following me, I don't post a lot of stuff, but I used to post a bunch of stuff on beer, some drinking and stuff like that. You can follow me at Detroit Beer Guy. You can see it down below my name. Yeah, so I think that's gonna do it.
Yeah, that should do it.
On that note. Until next time.
Sláinte.
That was all right.
Pretty good. That was all right.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.